Hi, this is Cristina Dam, and this is Liberate the podcast, where we educate, motivate, inspire, and liberate your consciousness. So we have some of the most interesting, unique, and amazing meditations, I think, in the world. I mean, we have past life regression meditations, guided hypnosis meditations, Akashic record meditations, as well as healing meditations. Our meditations are pretty cool. And they're not just about stillness of mind and peace and sit there, I mean, we have those too, don't get me wrong, but these are about meditations that are going to shift and change, and you're going to walk out of there feeling lighter, freer, healed, and even getting guidance and insight. So come down, experience one of our meditations. They're pretty badass. Hi there, welcome to another episode of Liberate the podcast. Today we have the amazing blessing of interviewing one of our own practitioners. He just moved to LA from Seattle, and he is an amazing healer. He's very gifted intuitive. He does a lot of work with soul retrieval. And so today we're really going to understand the evolution of the soul and these different aspects in your parts of your soul that maybe can be impacting you in the current reality. So it's a very interesting subject, and I'm excited to dive into it. So Travis, welcome.
Thank you so much, Cristina. It's a pleasure to be here. I was so excited to join the Liberate family when I moved down. I knew that I was following spirit to move from Seattle several weeks ago down here to LA, and as soon as I walked into the building, I knew that this was a place I needed to be a part of. And the more that I learn about this space, being the heart of Hollywood, and among other things, with the amazing people you have here, it's just incredible, and I'm excited.
Well, we're excited to have you. So Travis, I want everybody to know a little bit about you. I mean, besides being a great healer and intuitive, I love to start out with understanding of how you even got to do some of the work that you do, because you also train and do certifications, you teach lots of classes, you have lots to offer the world, the healing community, and individuals. But how did you get there?
Yeah, thanks. Well, I'm actually a lawyer as well. That was my first.
He does it all.
Except Windows. So I was in law school, and I was very interested in civil rights. So my first sort of career path led me down civil rights and HR and human resources, because my background is really in sociology and criminology, and I was really interested in what makes people behave the way they do. And so I kind of got fascinated about that, and also learned a lot about institutionalization when I was learning about criminology. And it was all about people who didn't get a fair opportunity. Mm-hmm. And so I was doing that for a long time, and I worked for the city of Seattle for about 20 years, actually, and I quit my job back in April. But during that time, and it was about part of my recovery as well, I was actively addicted to alcohol and also meth a couple of times in my life, where that got me into treatment. Gotcha. And once I got sober, there was this other calling that came up in my life. And I had no idea until I was 33 that I had any ability to help people heal or even know the terminology around it. But
so what was that gap in that space of discovering that calling? So, you're going through kind of your own dark night of the soul and healing yourself. Yeah. And then what was that pull or that tug that got you to say, oh, there's something else that I'm meant to be doing or exploring? Yeah,
thank you. I met this woman who became my mentor for a few years at a workshop that she was teaching. Her name's Marie. And she was teaching this energy medicine workshop, and I had no idea what that meant at the time. But my aunt said, "Hey, Trav, you should come with me to this thing. You're going to like it." And she was right. And there was something that I would tell you now was my intuition was telling me something I needed to learn more about her. And so she was teaching this Reiki workshop, and it was Reiki Master Teacher. Become a Reiki Master, 2.5 days. And I was like, that sounds fun. To be the master of anything in 2.5 days. I was like, law school was 3 years and a lot more money. But it was during that class where I, for the first time in this Reiki, which is a form of hands-on healing out of Japan, you lay of hands on somebody that you're working on, and the energy flows beautifully as it's designed to do. And my hands were on his shoulders. And I was told, oh, follow your intuition. And I didn't really know what that meant. And say what comes up for you. So I did. And when I had my hands on his shoulders, I suddenly realized I could see his muscles, his bones, and his tissue in his body as if I was an x-ray machine.
Wow.
And it was in my head, like I could see it. And then I sort of really scanned his body, and I got to right about here, and I saw this red blob. And red to me meant danger, something was wrong. And then I had a thought that said, what's that? And the word pancreas came into my brain in capital letters with exclamation points. And so I interpreted that to be, well, your pancreas is inflamed. And in that moment, I knew that it regulated glucose in the blood, and that's what I told him, even though before that moment, I wouldn't have been able to pick out a, pancreas from a spleen in a body, right? I had no idea. But in that moment, I knew that I was right, absolutely knew it. And then Marie, and then I said, what's going on? And he said he had adult onset diabetes, which of course, as people may not know, is a disorder of the pancreas. It's not regulating the glucose in the blood properly, which is what I said. But then Marie is standing like 12 feet away. She's over there. She looks at me and she says, Travis, you know you're in his pancreas right now, right?
Wow. And
I was standing at his shoulders. And so I looked at her and I was like, actually, I do. I know that because I saw it in my head. He confirmed it. And then from that moment, I knew that that was part of my destiny, not only because it was super fun.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, what else is out there?
Yeah, but I mean, you're getting these validations, you're getting these images, you're further, what you're seeing is being confirmed, right?
Right.
Which that's a lot of why this field has so much skepticism. Is that there's not a lot of that hardcore facts or science I can say, well, how do you know? You're just tapping into this energy, or you're seeing things with your mind's eye, like, or you're getting these words or thoughts that pop into your head. But when you have that validation of that, it's there, or it's been confirmed, or whatever the case may be, then you almost start to trust that muscle or that ability even more, and then it becomes even more magnified, right?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, I'd say struggle, but also argue with themselves around what it is that they know with their intuition or what they think with their brain.
Yeah, I mean, I did. We were having a conversation today. I was making, intuition says this, I think, but I'm confused if it's my mind saying this, so I don't know the difference, and I was not trusting myself in that moment, so, but how often does that happen so much? And we dismiss it. We dismiss this, you could have been like, I don't know what organs are what, and not even have said anything.
Yeah, and I think when we talk about the soul's evolution, I can tell you that
getting back to that too.
No,
but
I think what I believe about that is that when we take our perception out of our brain and go to our collective consciousness and our higher self, which only really over time and practice takes a fraction of a moment to really sit in a quiet state where we get fully into our bodies, which is really designed to give us our intuitive information. That's what it's for. But we spend all of our time thinking. But if we get out of our thoughts and into the body, we then can actually perceive what's going on around us with much more authenticity and much more accuracy. Because the brain really doesn't know truth from falsity, but the body does. And so over time, when I worked on more and more clients, both in person or over the phone, even distance clients, I've had some tell me that they actually looked over their shoulder because they thought I was in the room with them.
Wow.
I've had so many different amazing, incredible experiences of observing how the soul really interacts, both with each other and itself. So that's part of why I know that I'm kind of in the right place.
So from Reiki, going into, where did the connection go into learning about souls and parts of souls, soul integration? Because a large portion of the work that you do is kind of picking up fragmented aspects of a soul.
Right.
That in bringing them back into holism or alignment, right? You know, healing those wounds or those aspects that need to be healed and reconnected to make the
the core more powerful and strong, right?
Right. Absolutely.
So did you study that, or that just started to become an intuition aspect that you dive down on your own kind of theoretical rabbit hole?
Yeah, right. I learned through Marie.
Okay. The teacher that taught you
yeah. So
okay.
she had a 2-year mentoring program.
Okay.
So I mentored under her for 2 years. It was an
Okay.
energy medicine certification, which is what I do as well.
Okay.
And it helps you understand things about the laws of the universe, intuition. And we did a guided meditation where we went down to a place where what we call hell, but it's the lower realm, where souls that have been disconnected from their current consciousness exist. And the reason that and it's just a tool.
It's almost like a shamanic practice. Like,
Yeah.
They talk about going to the lower realms and...
Yeah, people get kind of spooked out when they say go to hell, but I'm a Scorpio and I went there faster than other people in the room. I mean, the example was so funny because I actually, the guided meditation was you walk through this field around this boulder and down these stairs into this cavern. And in my mind, I got to the top of the boulder and I just was like, why don't I just take the elevator? And so in my mind, I actually saw myself getting into an elevator and I went down to H and then got out. And then I remember in the guided meditation, I'm looking up and I'm seeing the other people that were in the room with me walking down the stairs. And so I was just kind of waiting for them to
You're
join.
like, I took the easy way. No walking for me.
Yeah, come on.
Elevator took me down.
yeah.
I wasn't sure how many flights of stairs I had to go, so...
I already did my steps for the day.
Yeah.
But what I realized is several things. One is that there are times that we come across fears that are unconscious, or even we realize something that we're afraid of, but we don't necessarily know why. Or we're limited in our empowerment, but we don't necessarily know why. So when I first started to work with people, primarily where psychic energy enters the body, which is the back of the head, the occipital ridge.
Like right here.
Yeah,
like I always
right,
get,
that bump.
I get there,
Yep.
but then I also get it right here.
Yeah.
Right, like almost at the
so
tip.
that's almost your throat.
Yeah, but it's there and there, and I feel that.
So, and this happened so frequently that it just became a part of my practice to work on people in this area. When you're at the back of the head, psychic energy comes in, and this is the area of interpretation comes in, because we have to understand it in order to comprehend not only what's going on, but what we're going to do about it.
Yeah.
And we have to have a consciousness, so it comes in through our consciousness. And so often I would see people, I would get a mental picture, I would see a past life trauma that related to why they're not perceiving the information either accurately or even looking at it at all.
Yeah.
And oftentimes I would see people who had difficulty breathing in some way. People who, and in the past life stories that I would see would be people who were buried alive, drowned, decapitated, burned alive, thrown off cliffs, murdered in a brutally but ceremonial way by many organizations who were trying to keep people from their true connection to spirit. And at times it was considered
a ceremonial
heresy.
way of murder?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm just
absolutely. Protestants did
No,
a lot,
yeah,
right?
no.
You're in the catacombs.
I just thought that was a funny way of you saying it.
I know, right? Because usually we want to think ceremonies are good, but there's some ceremonies that are not good.
Yeah.
And so, and what I realized through these past life stories that I had seen with people was that our current life, or incarnation, if you will, might have difficulty with maybe second guessing ourselves, or not trusting intuition, or not fully feeling empowered. And oftentimes it was because of the way that they died before. So the personality, as we understand about belief systems, creates a belief system around traumatic experiences and tells us we don't want to have that happen again.
Yeah.
But nowadays, I'm not going to be burned alive.
I'd hope not.
I hope not, right? There's not a lot of people running around with burning crosses in the U.S. and trying to pull witches from their homes and finding them to violate God's law. But many of us in our current lifetimes have had lifetimes where that's happened, and so. What I understand is that There are, and it's not just that type of death, but I've had other clients with it that have died in other ways that have what I call echoes. They're basically past life echoes. There's an echo showing up in this life of something that happened before.
Yeah.
And so as a part of my work, one of the things that I do is if it comes up in a session, I will both empathically feel what their body is experiencing with what isn't working, and then I will just be shown the story of what happened, and then I will go and sort of collect and help reintegrate that piece of the soul that is disconnected from source. So that's really kind of a high level of how the process works.
Now, one of the things that comes into my mind, and just because, the topic of being soul evolution, do you see that there's enough of these patterns within people that they've had these certain types of life before.
Yeah.
They've had these certain type of traumas before. Have you found throughout your work that there's some form of almost like way of the soul, like kind of like the hero's journey in the tarot, that it's like these aspects are your journey. They're going to get you where you need to go to evolve. It's like I almost kind of on like a more subtle level, I always look at kind of the aspect of normally some type of trauma happens from a child between 5 and 7 or 4 and 8 or so, like that time period where their world is shattered and suddenly they're not good enough, they're not okay, nobody loves them, or there's something wrong with them, and they live with one of those core kind of aspects of scarredness.
And it keeps showing up.
But then it's almost like it's meant to happen because that pulls them away from their self, and then for the next X amount of years, they build this further fleeing motion away from their true identity, and then they finally get to that tipping point of saying, okay, now I have to rediscover myself again because I'm not myself, and then they spend the next how many years or decades getting back on that path, but that's meant to happen to have the development in a way. I think it's like life by design. And so if we take that into these different elements on a bigger level of the soul evolution, do you see those patterns within some of the clients that you're working on? I mean, maybe the echo still shouldn't be in existence, but the fact of having, okay, you had a life where you suffocated while you died. You had a life where you did this while you did, is there do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think so. And so what I would say to that is not only are there sort of, if you will, muscle memory, it's a etheric muscle memory of past experiences that still resonates. That sort of is one arc, if you will. I see another arc as those life lessons I've chosen to learn because I want to grow in my own way, in my own evolution. And I've chosen a life that isn't what I would perceive as ideal because, for example, my own life, I would say, wow, I really signed up for this. If I, for all the things the experiences that I've had, I would tell you that it's been very difficult in my life, for my own suffering. But the lessons that I've learned in compassion and understanding and empathy and self-love have been incredible. And so I think to your question that a lot of us do decide that there are certain things that we needed to learn. And we couldn't do that unless we had an abusive father. And we chose the parent that would help us learn that lesson best. Now, I also believe we're learning away from contrast. Right now, we're still in it. We still learn what we like because of what we experience that we don't like.
Yeah, we're still living in a world of duality right now. So, on this plane, in this dimension.
Yeah, as long as we're in this realm, we're going to probably continue to learn by contrast. We're learning that in our American government right now, right? We're like, oh my God, wow.
Yeah.
Look at us. Look what the beliefs that people actually still have that we thought didn't. And what a great opportunity to learn compassion for people that believe things differently. And how to really be visible around our collective shadow. So I think to your question again, it's yes, there are certain experiences that we have that aren't necessarily echoes in the sense that I use it, but it's like it's an ingrained belief based on an experience that I hold in my vibration, and that will, until I release it, it will continue to be there. And people hold these in different organs and tissue and in our hearts and our bellies.
So talk to me a little bit about when somebody does release it. because you can take them through that kind of release and integration process. And so what can somebody expect?
Well, I think first is that there are emotions that you might have that you think you're done with about something that may have happened in your life that you aren't done grieving over. We don't learn how to be angry appropriately. We haven't learned that. So we push it away because you're not supposed to be angry. Because, in my family growing up, I had to try. I was like the entertainer for my father, and if anything that wasn't happy, you didn't really discuss it. So you didn't really learn how to have good communication.
Yeah.
Effective communication about what I was experiencing. But I think that I lost my train of thought. But I think that.
I was saying what somebody can expect by having the release of the energy.
Yeah, thank you. So as this authentic experience of the emotion is expressed, it's released, and what we find, what comes after that is often gratitude. And that's something we forget, and or forgiveness, not only for someone else, but for ourselves. Yeah. Because we co-created that. And then sometimes we are self-judging about ourselves, a lot of people are. And so we might be mad at ourselves for allowing something to happen, and we forget to forgive ourselves. So we might have forgiveness come up. And then once that lesson is over, it really is over.
So then, as a result, what kind of shifts do people kind of experience in their life? Or if you could go through and give some examples of some clients that you've had and seeing what shifts transcended after they had the healing, after they had that release.
Yeah, I think one in particular that you're reminding me of was one session I had with a client who, for about 25 years, she had severe and significant back pain. And was taking a pretty serious medication for it. And you might expect that I would have done some work on her back, but I didn't.
Did it on her heart?
None of it. I didn't. The entire pain that she was carrying was the pain of her abusive mother, not being allowed to be free. And the weight that she was carrying with that self-judgment of self-hatred based on the mother telling her she's not good enough, and everything like that. So what happened with her is, within a short amount of time after the session, she actually not only didn't have the back pain, she was stopped, didn't need to take the medication any longer.
Wow.
I had another client who had 2 miscarriages. Prior to a healing, and after the healing, she carried her 3rd child to term because of what came up during the session that needed to be released.
Beautiful.
And so those, and it's amazing what can come up. I think I also have people that are less afraid of things that they, in some ways, always knew they were afraid of, but didn't necessarily hone in on that before coming in. Because I'm pretty direct. I'm gonna be very clear about what it is that comes up in the loving and compassionate way, because that's my job.
Well, yeah, and they're there to work through things. They're not there to just sit and lay on a table.
Right. Well, I don't know though. There's some people that actually do. I've had a couple of what I'd call clutch clients that really they just want they're I wouldn't say they just want a friend, but they want someone that they can relate to, and in some ways, some people aren't willing to do the work that they need to do to release.
Got you.
And in some ways, I said crutch. I think I said clutch. I meant crutch.
Oh, whatever.
But I think it's pretty incredible. What I also find that people who are wanting to access their intuition more consciously and more consistently are able to do so.
Gotcha.
People who are interested in and have had a healing that related to a past life where they had a particular ability, in this life are able to do that much more easily. For example, I've had several clients who were able to communicate with spirit in a past life, have been wanting to in this life, but because of a past life trauma with that, did not have the access to it.
Yeah. So it's kind of like hits on all realms. Like there's physical release of physical pain, allowing people to create things or manifest things in their life, like one of your clients having a child, but also working on the deep emotional or the gifts that they have, whether that's tapping into, those spiritual gifts, or I'm sure like creativity and channeling and creating projects or manifestation, and emotional.
Yeah, I see relationships change as well because
I'm sure that's probably one of the big ones, because most people, what do you get scarred on in your life? Most of the time when people are hung up on somebody mistreated them, or they weren't lovable, or they had a toxic relationship, or went through a horrible divorce or something like that.
It's betrayal.
And they carry that. And so then what does that do? Blocks their heart, or maybe I don't know, what does it manifest as?
Well, interestingly enough, I do a lot of work around decording as well when it comes to relationships, because there's a lot of toxic relationships, both in past lives and this ones, that we aren't conscious of, that are still holding us back. And I started to see this as a particular picture in my head when I would work on clients around the sacral chakra, or which is around relationships and passion and creativity, is I would see these boulders, and I would see the number of boulders for the number of people that they need to let go of in their life. And then we would break up the boulders in the energy field, because that's what, we don't want boulders in the area. We want it to be clear and free and open.
Boulders, I like that, because it's a metaphor weighing down.
Yeah, and I would literally see it. And so I do a guided meditation as well in my workshops. In fact, I've got one coming up on the 20th called Buy Next, Empowering Your Relationships. Then I've got one on the 14th.
I need to come to that. I got to get rid of my boulders. They're weighing me down.
We'll get rid of the boulders. We'll do a boulder meditation exercise. We'll release them.
Yeah.
And so, but to your question, we have oftentimes, because of some past event, either this life or a previous one, karmically, we can have cracks in our energy field, in our force field, for lack of a better term. So what can happen is that there are particular vibrational frequencies of attractions, particularly around people who have a lot of power and who are strong people. They're vibrant lights. And so if you're a vibrant light and there are moths around, the moths are going to go to the brightest light in the room. And so they might jump. But also it's reflective in our relationships. If people are in patterns, if I don't have enough of my own self-worth, then I will allow other people to take advantage of me, and then I will be tired a lot.
So it'll be giving away their energy to somebody else.
Or I've got the weight of the world on my shoulders, because I take everybody else's pain and I hold on to it as if it's mine, because I don't know how to let go of it. And so I show people how to do that. And really, I think we all want to be free. We all want to have authenticity. We all want to be independent and make our own decisions. And we can't do that. We can't make our own decisions. We can't have free will if it's constantly bombarded by everybody else's stuff. So that's just a metaphor, right? Of like, oh, everybody else's stuff could be reflective in me holding on other people's pain, or being directed by fear, or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's just, I've always found like the soul work that I do is so fascinating, because every client is a little bit different. I mean, we might have similar soul paths, we might have similar lessons, but I think our soul field, everybody's energy field, is like as unique as our fingerprint.
Yeah.
And we might, we have so much similarities, but every one is like this like slightly different tapestry.
Yeah.
I like to think of every life and every life experience as like a single strand of a tapestry.
Yeah.
And in the moment we're in
like
that,
a vibration of sound, or a
so
song, like every song has a different,
Exactly, right? So if we're in this moment and we're really happy and we're vibrating that happiness, we're a certain color, right? That's our aura. And so every moment of our aura in our lifeline looks like this. And in each moment, I don't necessarily know what that looks like in the greater scheme of things.
Yeah.
But if I sit quietly and I sit back and I look with my higher self's eyes, I can see how beautiful the tapestry of all of my lifetimes really are, and how this fits into the whole. And I think it's really cool.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, thanks.
And on some of the work that you do, is this, for those that are listening, and they're feeling like there's that block, or that thing, or that pain that doesn't go away, or that pattern that keeps on reemerging within their life, that echo, as you call it.
Yeah.
When they work with you, Is this a process over a long period of time? Is this a few sessions? Is this like, how long do you normally spend working with each client?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And it really does vary.
Okay.
Because, one client I might see once, and the main issue that they have had most of their life is suddenly gone.
Yeah.
And so with love and gratitude, we part. And some, they'll have maybe more acute issues. So maybe we'll need 3 or 4 sort of sessions right away, and then more sort of ongoing support as things might come up. I don't have a specific regiment of saying you have to come in, 3 or 6 times or anything like that.
I just didn't know. No, I just didn't know if you've seen like a pattern.
Yeah, no, I really don't have a specific pattern. I think everybody has been different.
Yeah, which makes sense. People are at different points. I mean, I've been doing hypnotherapy work for well over a decade, and the same thing. I get that kind of question, and people, when they're ready to change, then they tumble faster into the change.
And I think what I would say is this: some people really want to take ownership of their life. They're done with whatever they're done with.
Yes, they want. Yeah, they're ready.
And so when there's when there's homework, it's interesting because I will tell them, exactly things. It'll be like, don't drink dairy, something simple. And you'll be surprised how many people still will drink the dairy, right? That gucks up their system. And so, or whatever else it is, it's like, okay, well, it depends on you, not me. And also the integration of things depends on how deeply embedded it is in the soul.
Yeah.
If you've been working on self-love for the past couple of lifetimes, even the smallest growth where you're able to love yourself fully and completely for an hour a day is better than nothing.
Yeah.
And so I would say whatever support you think you need is okay. And I usually tell people this: if you think about me, that's when you need to do it. When you need to book a session, because your intuition is telling you to call Travis. Then call him.
Yeah.
Come in, and we'll see.
Well, if you're watching this and you're feeling, I need that, keep in mind that we have sessions available, of course, in-house, in person, but also you can do Skype, and you can also do over the phone.
Yeah, so I do in-person sessions right now out of North Hollywood, and also distant sessions through Skype or Zoom, whatever meetings. And I have had clients, I think, like I said before, that have the healing of the energy works the same. The client that I had that had the miscarriages, she was in Boston.
Yeah.
And I did the healing from my place in Seattle at the time.
Yeah.
And
so remote work works just as good.
Yeah, because our consciousness is not limited to the third dimensional realm. So we can work in other dimensions with our consciousness very easily with practice and training.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I would say, yeah, absolutely. And so my website is divineinsight.com. I also have a YouTube
let us know.
and a podcast that I do, session page if you want to book right there. So
or you can book at Liberate Hollywood.
Yeah, book at Liberate Hollywood. I'm here 3 days a week on Tuesdays, Fridays, and Sundays.
But either way, whatever, just getting the help that you need and the guidance that you need.
Yeah.
And anything else, if you'd like to leave anybody with anything?
I think just super high level is like, what's coming up a lot for people, and I say in particular me, is that we each have our own specific journey. And though we have contracts with other people, either, soul contracts, what we'll say is like your family and the people that you engage with, like you still have your own journey. You have free will, and you get to decide what is best for you. And that is up to you. And it's just, I want to say I love you because I do. And I might not know you yet, but I do. And I think that's really it. I thank you so much for having me on and being here. It's been a wonderful time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you guys for joining.
See you soon.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this conversation, like it, subscribe, and share it with your friends. If you want some more amazing resources on your path of liberation, head over to liberateyourself.com and sign up for our mailing list. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram at Liberate Hollywood, all one word, or Liberate Emporium, all one word. Until next time, liberate yourself. If you're thinking that you want to take that action step, why wait? Book your session right now. Go to liberateyourself.com, click on either Liberate Hollywood or Liberate Emporium, see our amazing practitioners and who resonates most with you. And then book a session via Skype, phone, or in person. We're here for you, and it's your time to start creating your life.